Hey guys, what's up? Bryan here. Thanks for tuning in today. So I wanted to kind of do something just a little bit different this week, and I wanted to do a video over something that's not necessarily motorcycles per se. So I've noticed lately that a lot of you guys are actually getting GoPros and going out and doing your own rides and videos, and I love that. I love watching them, and personally, I think it's a great platform. Because when I first started, it was something that I didn't know if anybody was gonna watch. And I know I've said that, multiple times, but now that I've actually gained just a little bit of momentum, and it's not much, trust me, 1,000 isn't necessarily much compared to, these guys out there that have 15 million subscribers, things like that. But, 1,000 to me, that's quite a bit, I know that I could post a listing, say in the city that I live in, Springfield, Missouri, which has a population of like 150, 160,000. And I could post a listing and say, hey, I'm going to do a tutorial over changing the oil on a Yamaha Warrior motorcycle. And I might have one, maybe two people show up, but you do a video, you post it to YouTube, and now that video I think has 6,000 views. And that's awesome because it's gone all over the world. And you don't necessarily have to be famous. You don't have to have money. You don't have to, do this or that. It's just you have to have some way to record a video and some way to post it. Now, I've even seen a few of you guys starting your own YouTube channels, and I wanted to give a big shout out to a guy who actually contacted me just the other day. He's going to be starting a YouTube channel, and he's actually from Canada, and he's starting one that is going to be in French. And I know that's awesome because I do mine in English, and I know that a lot of you guys can't necessarily understand what I'm saying. So if you guys are speaking French, if you're from Canada, France, anything like that, or if you're just looking for another channel to subscribe to, go ahead and check out CM Warrior on YouTube. And go ahead, check him out, subscribe, like his videos, everything like that. And hopefully he's gonna come out with some good content here in the future that we could all enjoy as well. And I have actually seen a few of you guys recently on some of the Facebook groups posting videos yourself, going out, getting GoPros, making videos and posting them to YouTube. And like I said, I love watching them. I go, and anytime I see one from you guys, I go, I watch it, I like it, and most of the time I even comment to let you guys know that I've been there. And I've had a lot of you guys actually contact me lately and kind of ask me different questions on the gear I use or my motovlog setup, the editor I use, where I get my music, just different things like that. So I kind of wanted to do just a really quick tutorial over, just a few things to some of you guys who may be just starting out to kind of get you in there so that you're not necessarily lost when you actually get out there and kind of start doing this. Now, the first thing that I actually want to talk about are FPS, or frames per second. Now basically what this is it's telling you how many pictures that camera is taking per second of video. Now most of the movies and everything that you watch are going to be shot in 24 frames per second. And what that means is that it takes 24 pictures in that second worth of video. So, 2 seconds of video is going to have, 48 frames and so, on and on. So you've got things like soap operas that are actually shot in 60 frames per second. And that's why it has that whole different look to it. And they've got different frame rates. You've got 24 frames, 30 frames, 60 frames, 120 frames. Now this is the video that's actually shot in 60 frames per second. And what happens is you lose a lot of the motion blur that you end up seeing whenever I'm moving my hands or things like that in the videos that are shot at 24 frames per second. Now, one big thing about when you do shoot video in things like 60 or 120 or even 240 frames per second is that when you actually go and you interpret that footage at 24 frames per second, it slows it down. So if you're taking 120 frames per second and then you plug it back in and you interpret it at a 24 frames per second, it actually slows that video down 500%. So that's how you end up getting these nice slow motion shots that you end up seeing me shoot. Now the next thing that I want to get into just really quick that I want to touch on is shutter speed. Now basically shutter speed when it comes to video, they have a 180 rule. When you're shooting at 24 frames per second, you want to set your shutter speed to 1/50th of a second. And then if you're shooting at 30 frames, it'd be 1/60th. If you're shooting at 60 frames, it'd be 1/25th. So on and on. So basically you just double your shutter speed. What your shutter speed does is it helps you capture motion. If you actually have too low of a shutter speed, you're gonna have too much blur, and too high of a shutter speed, everything's gonna look like a robot. Now the third thing that I want to touch on today is going to be the ISO. Now ISO can pretty much be interpreted as artificial light. Now what happens is if you're in a dark situation and you have to bump up that ISO, it's going to actually introduce more noise into the picture and the quality of the image is going to go down. Now a lot of cameras actually have a native base ISO, and what that means is that the noise and the picture quality is going to be the best at that base native ISO. So basically you want to keep that ISO kind of down to the lower numbers or the base native ISO of the camera. Now the fourth thing that people ask me quite a bit is the editor that I use. Now when I very first started, the editor that I was using was Lightworks. It actually does a fairly decent job. It was a completely free editor. It doesn't have watermarks. You can do, basically your cuts, anything that you're gonna need to get by. But when you start getting into more of the effects, I found myself actually using, 4 different programs to end up doing one video. Whereas when I actually switched to a different one, I was able to do all of that in just the one editor. So if you're very first starting out, you want to just try something for free. Lightworks is a very good option. You might check it out. Another really good one that's free is DaVinci Resolve. Now the main problem with DaVinci Resolve is that it actually requires a pretty beefy computer to use, but it is phenomenal, especially for a free editor. This thing was made to originally color Hollywood videos. So the color grading on this is actually phenomenal. And they have a lot of really cool effects as well, such as image stabilizing and things like that. Now both DaVinci Resolve and Lightworks do have a paid version, which come with just a few more options. But if you're looking to kind of just get into something and get started and kind of see, which one's gonna work out best for you, go ahead, download those free options and kind of test them out and see what you think. Now me personally, I use Adobe Premiere Pro and I really like it. I think it's phenomenal. What I do is it's a monthly service and it comes with all the Adobe things. So I can use Lightroom, Photoshop, After Effects, anything that Adobe products have, I have access to. So that's, one option, and it's a monthly fee, whether you want to do personal, business. They even have a student option. So if you're a student, you can get a discount and, it's actually very cheap. And they do have other editors out there as well, editors such as Vegas Pro or even ones that come on your computer or phone. Now the last thing that I actually want to touch on today is music. Now when it actually comes to making videos, there's a lot of rules when it comes to copyright, and you can't use just any music out there. And they do actually have a lot of websites that you can go to get music for videos, and some of them are paid, some of them are free. YouTube even has their own. Me personally, I use one called Epidemic Sound. Again, it's another monthly subscription that I pay, but to me, they have some of the best music that I found out there. One really cool thing about it is you can browse through, different things. So let's say you're browsing and you're looking for a song that's, hip hop, but you want it to be fast paced, and you can even narrow it down to, 30 seconds long if you want. And it'll bring up all those different tracks. Now one really cool thing about it is, say you get a track and you're like, man, I really like the guitar, but I don't like everything else. Now they actually let you download either the full track or all the stems so that you can either piece together just the certain parts of it that you really like and take out, vocals or take out the drum beat or whatever you want. Now, as I said, YouTube actually has their own royalty-free music as well. If you go to the Creator Studio and then go to the Create tab on the left, it'll actually bring up the YouTube music. And they've got a lot of royalty-free music as well, but me personally, I wasn't able to find anything that really kind of just felt like I wanted to put it to a video. A lot of it kind of just seemed lame, honestly. No offense to YouTube. I mean, I use you for, this platform, but as far as the music goes, I wasn't feeling it. So they do actually have a lot of sound effects as well. So if you're looking for whips, like in the opening sequence where I had those whip transitions, you're actually able to find it in these sound effects. And they do actually have other places as well, such as, Audio Jungle or Premium Beats and things like that. So now guys, I'm gonna leave links to everything that I talked about today down in the description below. So if you're thinking about starting your own YouTube channel or something like that, be sure to check it out. I really appreciate you being here with me today. And if this video helped you out, be sure to like and share it. If you're not subscribed yet, guys, scroll down, hit that subscribe button. We got about 5 more days on that contest, and I think we're at about 145 entries so far. So actually the odds are probably looking pretty good for you guys that have signed up. If you haven't yet, I'll leave a link in the description below as well for that, so be sure to get signed up to the giveaway. Guys, other than that, we'll see you next time.